What's going on, citizens and constituents? This is Jordan Renee, your local congressman here in Georgia, Carolina. And I wanted to start this video off by giving you guys a trigger warning because I know that the title of this video is an anagram, and the title of this video says the Elf Marsh video. But what this video is actually going to be about is me talking about my journey with self-harm. And I wanted to make sure that I come on here and let you guys know exactly what is going to be talked about and what is going to be discussed. And if those types of conversations are triggering for you, I wanted to inform you ahead of time so that you don't step into a situation that can be harmful. So with that being said, let's get to the town hall.
I don't do regrets. I'm trying to learn from my lessons, but do I get it yet? I wanna set an example, but I'm not sure I done handle all my demons. I'm thinking that I should court a vet. I fight for all respect. I'm working overtime to keep in my head. I understand I'll get the love when I'm dead, so my focus is red. Choose the black out on what's keeping me chosen. I've been the token, now the back is ahead. On my soapbox, jugging, showing out.
Ooh. Child, let me put a piece of something on it. I know I'm talking about heavy subjects, but I'm trying not to look like what I've been through. Jesus. Even though this lash is giving Tammy Faye Baker. All right. What's going on, citizens and constituents? We are in Georgia, Carolina. I am your local congresswoman, Jordan Renee, and I appreciate you all being here. If you're new, thank you for visiting and for touring our lovely community. Today, we are going to be having a discussion about self-harm. And not necessarily self-harm in a general sense. I wanted to just come on and talk about my own journey. You guys know that I don't like to come on and speak for a community. I like to come on and just tell my own story and let you guys converse with me at your own comfort. So I don't want to come on and speak for anybody. I don't want to come on and be the representative for, self-harm and getting help or any of the things like that. But I do want to come on and tell my story and be honest. And hopefully if somebody can relate to me, that they find some sort of solace or some sort of comfort or relatability from my story. Okay. So I am a cutter. I can't even say that I was, because I've relapsed into that behavior after years and years of not cutting. I cut again for the first time a few weeks ago. I don't have an exact date. It's been maybe a month or so. And I want to do this video to hold myself accountable. I want to do this video to not only talk about the journey of how I got here and why this even started in my life, but I wanted to put it out to hear myself say that it's wrong, and hear myself say that it's not what I want to do, and hear myself say that the outer pain that I'm giving myself doesn't cover or mask or coat the inner pain that I'm trying to release. And maybe me just simply talking about the things that I'm going through will be a better way to release that instead of trying to draw it through other methods. So I learned about cutting for the first time actually watching the show Degrassi. It was one of my favorite shows growing up, Degrassi: The Next Generation, and there was a character on the show by the name of Ellie, and she went through her own struggles with cutting, and how I learned about it was the rubber band that she wore around her wrist. she was in detention one episode. I can't remember specifically what was going on. And somebody asked her about the rubber band on her wrist because she kept popping it. And she kept saying that it like curtails the desire for her to like cut in the grand sense. That's not exactly what she said. She put it more, well, gracefully, if I do say so. But she basically explained that the feeling that she gets from popping the rubber band, it kind of alleviates the desire for her wanting to feel the need to cut herself. And I was maybe 12 at this time. I was maybe 12 at this time when I saw this, maybe younger, but I couldn't have been older than 12. And I remember feeling like, wow, like I feel bad a lot of the times. Maybe if I wear a rubber band around my wrist, maybe I'll feel better, right? And so I started doing that. I started wearing rubber bands and things around my wrist. I don't have the hair tie that I usually wear right now because it was just cutting off my circulation. But I started wearing rubber bands around my wrist, and when I started feeling really triggered or really stressed or really pressured, I would just pop it because I remembered she did that on the show, and it would, kind of make her feel a little better. And I held on to that behavior for a really long time. I held on to that behavior for years. Like I said, I learned that from watching Degrassi. I was maybe 12. At the time, I didn't cut for the first time until I was maybe 15 or 16. So I held on to that behavior for a long time. Even though I had never cut myself, I just held on to that because she said it made her feel better. It made her feel better. And the feeling of the thump of the rubber band or the thump of the hair tie, it's almost like I was shocking myself out of the anxiety, because I've suffered from really bad anxiety attacks for a really long time, and I didn't realize what was happening to me until much, much later in my life. I didn't realize I was having anxiety attacks until I rewatched the show Soul Food, the series, and saw Terry having panic attacks and her bout with anxiety and the things that she was dealing with. And I was like, that's what's been happening to me? Mind you, I said rewatch because I saw the show for the first time when I was a kid, but you don't realize what's happening when you're a kid and you're seeing something happen. All you know is you see that happen, but you don't know how to characterize it, right? It's like me seeing the trans woman that stole Terry's necklace on Soul Food, the series, and not realizing that related in some way to my being. Seeing a trans woman for the first time on TV, or seeing a trans woman on Nip Tuck for the first time. I'm getting off topic, but I am someone who has struggled with depression my entire life because I've never felt safe. Well, for a long time in my life, I haven't felt safe. As long as I can truly remember, I haven't really felt safe emotionally, and I haven't felt like anyone genuinely cared about what I thought or how I felt or who I was as a person. Like, that's not to say that I never felt like, it's not to say that I felt like no one ever loved me. There's a difference between somebody loving you and somebody loving you and not having the emotional intelligence to connect with you. Do you get what I'm saying? And I feel like I grew up with a lot of people who either, one, just walked out of my life, or two, didn't have the capacity to emotionally connect to me. And I didn't understand that. And I didn't understand that, once again, until well into my 20s. And I have Iyanla Van Zandt to thank for that, for a lot of that. But I say all of that to say, I was a really lonely kid. I was a kid that didn't have many friends. I was a kid who never like truly had like strong connections with people. And I'm talking about like my own family members. I was never really close to anyone really growing up. Like I would have best friends, but I didn't like, I never had like a group of friends, or I never, was, it's just hard to explain. I just never felt like I was a part of anything. I never felt like I belonged to anything. I never felt like I was truly connected to anyone or anything growing up. And I feel like it's that Pepper LaBeija story from Paris is Burning, where she's sitting in the room and she's talking to all of her children, and she's talking to Jenny Livingston, and she's saying when kids are rejected from their family, they go out in the world and they search and they look for people. And that was part of that for me. The isolation of never feeling like never feeling like I had a safe space to really communicate the things that I was going through. And I was really feeling a lot of deep and dark and isolating things at 15 and 16 years old. And I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone because, listen, when you grow up in the Black community, they don't really understand mental health when you're growing up. Like, your parents don't understand mental health, and your grandparents damn sure don't understand mental health. And that's not a knock or a slight to them. Do you get what I'm saying? That's not. It's just, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't give what you don't have. And you can't give an emotional safe space if you've never had one. You can't provide emotional intelligence that you just don't have or have never been equipped with or know how to provide. Even if you are a parent, just because you have a kid, that doesn't mean that you have all the tools necessary to give that kid what they need. And I was a kid that needed a lot of emotional investment. Like I've said before, it's not that I've ever grown up wanting for anything, or like going hungry or starving, or like having to, not have nice clothes. Like, I've always been well taken care of. I've always been well taken care of as a child, and that's never been something that I've taken away from my family. But the thing is I've never had family that was necessarily emotionally intelligent or emotionally available for me in the way that I needed as an individual. And so the isolation of you being held captive to your thoughts, and mind you, I'm a child whose father walked out on them for a bout with drugs for, however long, at the age of 3, I guess. I can't even remember. So I never had my biological father around. And the situation with my mother is I don't have an emotional connection to my mother. My mother takes very good care of me. However, I don't, it's like we don't have any type of connection to each other. And then this man comes into her life that she allows to basically take over as the disciplinarian in the home. And it lends into a whole thing where eventually I am sent to live with the father that has never been around out of nowhere. Now, mind you, me and my mother have had disputing stories on what is actually going on in the course of this time. And I feel like I do remember this very vividly. However, she is entitled to her story, and I'm not going to debate her on it any longer. So, but all in all said, these are all of the things that I'm dealing with. Like, I'm dealing with a lot of abandonment issues. I'm being dealt with being told that my femininity has made me less than by a stepfather and eventually an older brother. And it's just been a lot. So feeling like your dad walks out on you, your mother throws you away, and you almost start to expect anyone who presents themselves as someone who cares about you to walk out on you. So I'm dealing with a lot of that. And then I'm not going to say I'm necessarily bullied in school. I just am so detached. Like, I'm the type of person who will walk into a room full of people and feel like I am alone. And that's my entire high school experience. That's really how I can qualify my entire high school experience, is like I was present, but I was never there because I never felt genuinely attached to anything. I never felt like anyone genuinely cared about me. I never had real connections outside of school with people, with a few rare exceptions. And a couple of those people I still communicate with to this day, and I'm very thankful for. But the abandonment that I actually experienced, I think, allowed me to mentally manifest abandonment that wasn't actually happening from a lot of people in my life. So I ran from a lot of relationships and a lot of situations with people, probably that I didn't need to, or just situations like that. However, the isolation is what I'm getting to, because I've gone off into a deeper tangent about how I got here to make the whole why I decided to do this make sense. And I think a part of me is subconsciously avoiding actually talking about doing it. But yes, the isolation, the me feeling like I've never belonged anywhere, the feeling like I've never been truly wanted. These may be actual manifestations of actions of people or just my interpretations of people. It's all a blur now. But those were the things that I was thinking about when I was like, I want to talk to somebody. I want to call out for help. I want to cry for help, but no one cares. Like, I do try to talk to people and it's like, I'm insulted. Like, and you got to realize, like, the first time, well, not even the first time, because I had been cutting myself for a long time at that point, but the first time that I had been discovered or found out as cutting myself, it was a situation where my aunt was driving me in a car. I remember this so vividly. Wow. I was driving in a car, and I have done this recently. I guess I just don't think about it, where I wear my pain so vividly, where like I think no one cares because I almost feel like I'm hiding in plain sight, right? So like I feel like I display my emotions to people and they don't care. So it's almost like I subconsciously don't think they're gonna notice an arm full of cuts and slashes on it, right? So one day I was just sitting, and I had just cut myself before I went to ride with my aunt somewhere. Excuse me. And so I have the literal just blood stains on my arm from this. And it's such a like you see just like blood, dried blood, and like I have on a short sleeve shirt because I don't even think about it. And my aunt just looks over, and I'm like sitting in the window like this, and I just have my arm, and I'm looking at the window, and she just flips out, right? So we get to the house, she tells my grandmother, and my grandmother has a completely different reaction. Where my aunt is concerned and she's worried, my grandmother's like, well, if that's what you want to do, kill yourself. Like, if that's how you feel, blah, 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 da, da, da. And I think she was just more so hurt that I didn't come and talk to her, that I would try to do that. But like I said, when you grow up with people where Black people aren't necessarily allowed these safe spaces to develop emotional intelligence, you don't know how to give what you don't have unless you try to go out there and find it like I have. So I don't know. So that made it even worse. Like, I remember hearing her say that in the kitchen as she's cooking, and I just walk back to my room, and I go into my room, and I just take the little blade, and I just I go to town. Like, it's so, oh my God. It's so hard because I'm trying to make this video to make the point of this being something that you shouldn't do, right? I'm trying to make the point of this is painful. But then as I'm explaining it to you, all I can think of is it's the only thing that I've ever felt that's taken the pain. Literally, it's like an instant gratification pain reliever. And I'm not saying that to promote that or make that sound positive. But that is how my mind processes that. And so I'm trying to figure out how to word this in the most productive way while still being brutally honest about my own experience, because relapsing into that behavior almost 9 years later, it baffles you, like, how you come back to that place. And you know how they say some things are just like riding a bicycle. It's so, like, the realization of that is so shameful for me. So hopefully you're learning something from me talking through this with you right now, because I am ashamed to admit that I feel the exact same, or that I felt the exact same way recently when I did that to myself as I did at 15 when it first started. It's like it forces you to exhale. Do you understand? Like, it literally forces you to exhale. What I am going to suggest as I close this video is do not allow the abandonment issues that you may suffer, or the pain that you may suffer from someone hurting you or people hurting you in your life, stop you from helping yourself. Because that is what I have allowed myself to do for so long. I have taken the fact that the people I wanted to value my voice, or the people I wanted to hear me, or the people I wanted to cry for help to, did not respond in the ways that I felt or that I needed them to respond in. I just automatically assumed that the rest of the world was the exact same way. It's that Eileen Ford. Why am I having so many Paris is Burning references? But it's that Eileen Ford thing of, if somebody asks you how you are and you're sick, don't tell them because they don't really care. That stuck with me so heavily when I heard that for the first time in that movie. I never forgot that ever in life. If somebody asks you how you are and you're sick, don't tell them because they don't really care. I've never forgotten that for some reason. And I just equate that to life. And I felt like the examples that I've had in my life of my parents never being available for me to come to them for comfort or emotional safety. Like, I've never gotten that from my family. I've never had strong friendships where I could rely on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like every person I've ever loved, with the exception of my daughter, of course, has intentionally hurt me. So it's hard for me to, like, I'm an extremist as well. So once I have a belief, like, I'm very black and white with it. Like, like I'm very black and white with everything. Like I'm such an extremist. Like if you say that we're supposed to be at the place at 8:05, then I want to be there at 8 o'clock, walking in the door at 8 o'clock, so we can be seated at 8:05. Like that's the type of shit. Like I'm very like that type of stickler with time. Like I'm very like manifesty about stuff. Like I'm very that specific about things. So I say all of that to say, I said it in my last video, don't allow yourself to become a victim of yourself. Because that is what I'm trying to work myself through at this point. I'm trying to really break myself out of my own patterns and my own habits, because I locked myself in a thought process of nobody cares. I locked myself in a thought of a thought pattern of nobody's gonna give a damn anyway. No one cares what you're doing. You cry for help, no one cares. So who cares if you look a certain way? Who cares if you do, whatever? Who cares if this happens? Who cares if that happens? Who cares what you do with yourself? Because no one is available when you feel like you need them. And while I want to automatically say that all feelings are valid, because they are, you have to accept the reality that not everybody is going to be available for you in the way that you need them when you need them. Not everybody has that ability, that capability, and that capacity. People are gonna hurt you. That doesn't mean that they're against you. It just means that maybe they've dropped the ball, or something happened, or maybe something in their own life that they're going through prevented them from being there for you in the way that you needed. But that doesn't mean they don't care about you. It means that their actions hurt you. But that doesn't mean that you should disregard yourself from you caring about yourself. Like, in the words of a trans icon, a fracking sage once said, if you can't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else? That is a cliche ass saying, but it's so factual. Like, because I've said this before to other people. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect anybody else to believe in you? You have to believe in yourself more than anybody else in the room, especially today, because people aren't getting discovered. You have to believe in yourself more than anybody on the planet walking into a room, and you have to sell yourself like you are crack to a fiend. Period. That also goes hand in hand with self-love. And I've never stopped to take inventory of that. I've never stopped to be like, well, bitch, why don't you love yourself as much as you believe in yourself? Mind you, these are things that I've never really thought through a process like that. I've never thought about that until I just said that out loud. I believe in myself so much, but I don't love myself at all. That is so crazy. Like, I have the logical ability, I have the intellectual ability to recognize that I am a talented individual who can rap their ass off, who can dance their ass off, who can speak well, who can present and host a show and entertain a crowd and keep an audience. And I'm able to really be a well-rounded entertainer and really put on a show. Like, I am a real true blue show woman, right? And I can recognize that I'm talented. However, I don't love myself enough to believe in myself to really push myself to the limits that I should, regardless of who believes in me and who doesn't. Because the reason why I'm not more successful now is because I didn't believe in myself. Because as much as I believed in myself, I still needed other people to believe in me for me to get out there and do it. If somebody didn't show me the support that I needed for me to feel like I'm worth it, then I didn't do it. Or I didn't do it to the capacity of what I could do it. And I've tried to push past those levels and push past those demons and push past those things so hard in my life. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest and say that I've let myself down. And I stopped believing in I stopped believing in me being one in a million. I never stopped believing in me being talented. I stopped believing that I could be the one that could do it. And that's the part that is going to keep you from really thriving in whatever it is you want to do in your life. I just happen to want to be an entertainer. I just happen to be a showwoman. I'm very, like, that first verse of Britney Spears' Circus is literally like my life. There's only two types of people in the world: the ones that entertain and the ones that observe. I am lit, and baby, I'm a put on a show kind of girl. Like, dead ass. Like, dead ass. Like, that is my life. Like, I relate to that so hard. And it's just a throwaway line, but I've let myself believe that if the people who are supposed to love you the most don't see you as valuable, what are strangers going to think of you? On top of the strangers who you come in contact with not thinking you're so great. Like, it's not like you go out in the world and you're Regina George, sis. Like, you're not even Gretchen Wieners. Like, you really do give a Janice Ian vibe. Not like in physical presentation, but just as like your acclamation to society. Like, you really do give a Janice Ian vibe up in these streets. Like, and I saw so much of myself, but I couldn't love myself past people in my immediate viewpoint not seeing the value in me or not believing in me as much as I wanted them to. I think the fact that the people I wanted to believe in me didn't necessarily believe or support me the way that I wanted them to, I just automatically registered that as no one is going to see me as valuable if the people who are supposed to like the people who are supposed to be your biggest fans and your biggest cheerleaders and the people who are supposed to love you the most, if they don't see that in you, then what are you doing? That goes back to these several iterations of my YouTube channels and me trying to just push past me not having a support system and me just pushing into, bitch, you think you can do it, so go and do it. And I've let myself down a lot. And I'm gonna close this video by saying, like, me relapsing into that behavior is another way that I've let myself down. Because, the thoughts that I have in my head are really thoughts that I wouldn't wish on anybody in the world. And I really want every single person who is ever going to come into contact with this video to really hear me when I say that. Like, the thoughts that will put somebody in a place to do that are thoughts that really I wouldn't wish on anybody, because yeah. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go because I kind of feel bad that I'm giving you guys all really dark videos right now, but I kind of really want to get to the roots of like what's really going on, and I want to really talk about each separate issue as its own separate issue, and really take the time for myself and really do what I need to do. I shot an entire Real Housewives of Orange County video yesterday morning, and I went to start editing it, and I hated it. I hated it. I didn't even get 30 seconds into the video. Well, no, I got through the intro that I recorded, and I hated the video because for some reason, when I start talking about housewives, it automatically makes me feel like I have to put on that porn with Jordan that porn with Jordan caricature that I developed subconsciously. Like, it's not fake. Like, the things that I'm saying aren't fake, but eventually the way that I started saying them was a more elevated and like type of like it became a lot more in your face than I actually was. Like, doing it in my videos became really put on, whereas if I was naturally doing that in conversation, it was because I was naturally reacting to what somebody was saying. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like when I was doing it in my videos, I feel like now I'm like a caricature or a puppet of myself, because I'm trying to recreate that same energy that I naturally have when I'm having a conversation with someone. And it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel genuine. It felt weird and it looked crazy, and I felt like I looked crazy, and I just didn't like any of it. So I'm gonna reshoot it at some point, because I also want to do a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City catch up as well. And so yeah, we're gonna talk about that. And I'm gonna bring you guys some lighter videos. I do want to talk about some more fun subjects and things like that. I really want to do a Queens catch up, because baby, that show has been good. But I really wanted to come in and really be real with you guys and let you know what's really been going on. And I really wanted to really have a serious conversation with you guys, but I'm not in the position to do live videos right now. In the Justifiably Jordan era of my channel, I really wanted to curate personal conversations about real subjects. And while I'm still talking about the things that I'm going through while I'm on my YouTube channel, I'm doing them in a way now where I'm just doing it for me, and I really want to talk myself through the things that I'm going through, and not curate a conversation and make it a talk show around a subject. I really want to just talk about my experience and really let it out and really try to deal with that, and maybe actually go back and watch my video and learn something from something that I've said in my videos, because there have been a lot of times where I have learned something from something that I've said in my own video, or like I didn't even realize I said something in my video, and then it would hit me completely differently when I would be going back and editing it, or going back and watching it later, even after I've done the editing. But I just hope that me really taking the most vulnerable parts of my life and really speaking about them in a way that is not making me seem like I'm above or I'm healed or I'm past, and really acknowledging that I'm going through it right now. And I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm trying to help anyone. I'm legitimately trying to help myself. This isn't a conversation for me to try to help anybody. I'm literally just trying to talk myself through some things. And I hope that the conversation that I'm having with my viewfinder is impactful to someone who's watching this. That's really the focus of Georgia, Carolina. That's really the focus of this channel. That's really what I want the approach to this channel to be. Is I'm just gonna talk myself through some things, even if it's good or bad. Like, even if I'm just talking about the housewives, or talking about TV shows, or I'm talking about music. I just want to talk myself through some things and talk myself through my thoughts, because I don't feel like I have like a person in my life who I can just call and just talk about something like this with. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I have somebody who I can call and talk and shoot the shit with. And I'm not going to say that I don't have anybody who I can really talk to about this subject. I do have my sister, Kelsey, who I can call and really have a real wax honest conversation about this. But I'm the type of person who I don't like to burden the people that I love with my problems. And I am going through the process of working towards healing through my issues. Like, someone can't give me advice and then that advice be the thing that just automatically heals me. Like, I'm going to take that advice, but I also have to put it into work, and it's not something that's going to be healed overnight. So I don't want to trauma dump somebody, or I don't want to make somebody feel like I'm not listening to them, or like what they're saying isn't making an impact. It's not that. It's just the fact that I've been going through this for a very long time. So I have a lot of shit that I need to work through. So while I'm putting your advice and affirmations and this and that and what have you into effect, I am using all of those tools and all of the advice and all of the things that you gave me. I'm still a person who goes through the things every day. I am still in the midst of some of the situations that I'm trying to emotionally heal from. So it's like, how do you heal the wound that is currently open? How do you heal wounds that are currently open? Do you get what I mean? It's not like something that happened to, well, there are things that have happened to me in the past that I'm still trying to work through. That's something different. But I'm talking about the issues where I'm trying to emotionally grow through the situation, but I'm still living with the situation every day. So it's like I'm trying to heal from the past while trying to stabilize and balance with the new. It's just a lot going on. But all of that said, this isn't the solution. This isn't the route that I want to take. This isn't the route that I think anybody should take. And I hope that my guilt about it and my guilt about relapsing in that behavior inspires or clarifies for someone to look at themselves and be like, okay, maybe this isn't necessarily what I want to give myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe this isn't really what I want to do. I don't know. But I'm gonna go because I really don't feel like I have anything else I could really adequately contribute to the conversation. But I hope that my citizens and my constituents really take something from this conversation and really are able to grow through it, and hopefully it helps you like it's helping me. And maybe you can share it with somebody, even if you're not going through the same situation. Maybe you know somebody whose feelings are similar to the things that I'm going through, and you can share it with them, and maybe they can feel like they're heard. If you're visiting, thank you for stopping through Georgia, Carolina. I hope you had at least an informative visit. This wasn't the most pleasurable town hall. This wasn't the most fun town hall meeting, but I hope that it was something that was impactful, and it was something that was informative, and something that you guys could grow through together. So with that being said, I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.